Welcome to another episode of The Second Coming. I'm here with Brother T. I'm your host, Jason Keaton, and we are excited to have you with us this week. Brother T, you had a pretty amazing adventure in Boulder, Colorado with Paul Selig. How was that?
You know, that was interesting. The guides were, Paul's, the way he's always kind of communicated, the guides have communicated with him is that they would speak to him. He would kind of unpack whatever was coming through and then mumble it, kind of mumbling, and then speak it out loud. So you were always hearing it twice. Well, this is the first time that I experienced where the guides just kind of overrode that need that he had to be in, I think, a need to be in the conversation, I'll put it that way. And so they were just able to communicate directly through him, especially on the second day. And what I got from the guides was, well, it was a confirmation or, a revisit of the stuff that they've already done, because they have already produced 13 books. I think the 13th book will be out sometime early next year, but it's already, done. And then they're kind of starting to work on the 14th book. They might have taken some of this material for that, I don't know. But anyway, it was really, really interesting. Subsequent to that, when I came home, I kind of went back to A Course of Love. I've been back in that, studying that now, Jason, and I just keep getting more and more clarity. I've been writing about that a little bit. I think last week the email that went out, I was talking about, A Course of Love. I've been highlighting that in some of the emails that go out on our, truethought.us if you want to join that mailing list. But, the interesting thing for me, my takeaway, I don't know that I would go see Paul again, but I would definitely continue studying and reading the guides. I'll just leave it there. There's a big difference between the messenger and the message. And there's a huge difference between who's channeling and what's being channeled, literally, when it comes to spiritual principle and spiritual truth. And I know Paul said, in fact, that he doesn't even realize only about maybe 30% of the conversation. So he was doing some other things. He was doing some readings of people. He would read people would ask questions about their mom or their dad, their child or whatever. And I didn't, for most of my experience of that was more on kind of like an egoic, he dialing into their ego a little bit, which I don't have any, I have no, I don't find much value in that. I really find my value in what the guides are teaching, in the sense that they keep you in the upper room and helping you to get to that level. But in studying A Course of Love again, rereading that, and I'm also in the treatises now, Jesus is just explaining a different way of attaining that same level of consciousness. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what this journey's about, is evolving, raising your consciousness to a level where you can be communicated with directly by the Holy Spirit. I'll call it the Holy Spirit today, nothing more than your right mind. But ultimately then to allow that self to be who you are expressing as in the world, and as simple as that, I just said that, it's very simple, right? And so is playing golf. Just put the ball in the cup, no problem. But, there's quite a few steps between that first swing and when you finally get the ball in the cup. And I think enlightenment is like that. We comes in stages, and over time, we begin to allow ourselves to let go of false concepts, false ideas, a lot of unlearning, ultimately to awaken to a realization of yourself as someone different, not even feeling like you're isolated or that you are separated, but feeling more in unity, not with just the Holy Spirit, but also with everyone you meet. And it's really a grand experience if we allow it to come in time and not, let the ego try to force its conditioning on our experience of enlightenment. I'll leave it at that.
I love that, and that brings me into my question that I had, or I wanted the conversation I wanted to have today is something so simple. But before I do that, I just wanted you to highlight again that truethought.us. That's a great little daily email. It only takes a minute or two to read, and it's such a beautiful, just little message to start out your day. I get it every morning early. When I open up my emails in the morning, and it's there with my coffee. So thank you, Brother T, for sending those out. But today I wanted to talk about just kind of what you said, the simplicity of it. I feel in our world of algorithms and materialism, and even in spirituality, there's this desire to seek the mountaintop and seek enlightenment to the top. But I want to know how we find enlightenment in every day, in the bird outside the window or the barista at the coffee shop. I just want to know, what does enlightenment in this path look like today, on Tuesday, on Sunday, on just any day?
Okay, let's do that. Okay, so let's just take a good moment here, a short moment, to do an attunement to just kind of align ourselves with the higher energies that are available to us. Let's take a good deep breath. And this morning we allow only that which expresses Christ consciousness, and only that which is in harmony with the purpose of being. The Father's will, not mine, be done. And may this divine love enrich the affections of all mankind. We hold this energy dear and close and precious. We know who we are in truth. We are God's children. We know what we are in truth. We are expressing ourselves as God's perfect children in form here on this lovely planet, so that others can feel the love that God is coming through us. And we know how we serve by doing that very thing, by being loving, considerate, accepting and willing to allow everyone to be who they are, as they are, so that they can find themselves in those moments of expression and appreciation of those that we gather with, that come closer to the energies that we hold as we hold those energies longer. So today we will make an agreement, at least for some time together today, to just hold this energy of consciousness. It's beautiful. It's easy. All it allows, all that's required to experience it is a little willingness. And so it is. Of course. So how can I be enlightened in my day today? It's really, it's a great question, Jason, because it escapes us simply because our egoic mind wants to control what that is. And why would our egoic mind want to control that? Well, our egoic mind defines itself and values itself based on what other people appear to be expressing as whether or not they value you, right? What your worth is determined by somebody outside of you. And that's the way the ego operates. Seek but do not find. And so it's always looking to manipulate people. And, there's an expression in A Course in Miracles, no people pleasing, right? And no private thoughts. And you put those two together, they're basically the same thing. You don't try to manipulate people to get them to do something for you or to make you feel better about yourself, because that's just your ego operating in fear. And it's not even who you are. It's not even close. It's just a temporary mask, a default operating system that we come into this experience with. But once we realize that we actually have a soul, and then when we allow that realization we have a soul, and what is our soul, and how are we in relationship, and how can we become more in relationship? And can we hear and be guided by our soul? And the answer is yes. The soul is the part of us, is the Christ child, if you will. And we are in adolescence here. Now, adolescence, look it up, right? It's between 10 and 10, I think Wikipedia or, the dictionary will say, oh, it's somewhere between 10 and 19 years old. So it's the period after, if you will, maybe puberty, young adulthood, pre-adulthood. But we are adolescents here on this planet. Now, this is kind of a new way of me expressing this for you guys, but, that's what I'm receiving. And why not share it that way? Because that's really the truth. The truth is we are God's children, and we're learning who we are, and we have chosen to come into the experience, I think, for a couple of purposes. The number one that we discovered now in the third miracle book, A Journey into the Unknown, is that we really came here to be more of God. I was talking to some friends, last weekend. We had a big weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and we were playing volleyball with some friends. And one of my friends was talking about his children and what they were doing. And I said, yeah, more of you, right? And I said, yeah, we have children, so that's more of us, more of who I am. I see more of myself in my children. And that's what we are in our relationship with God, because we are God's children. Even though we may yet still be in our adolescence, we might say that our brother Jesus has kind of, grown into adulthood, right? Kind of as our teacher and our way shower, because we're just children. But here as children, if we allow ourselves to be that innocent, wow, what a gift that would be to give to ourselves. If we allow ourselves to be adolescent in our spiritual journey and not let our ego, which wants to control everything, so that it can be happy and it can be right, and it can be magnanimous, and it's all of its grandeur, making itself, in the image of fear. It's just not who we are, and it's not really worth giving it too much power, because it will abuse that power, and it usually abuses that power by abusing other people and ourselves, of course. I digress. But the adolescence of who we are in our relationship with God is what we're experiencing here. So how can I be, an expression of enlightenment in my day today, this Sunday? Well, if I'm by myself, go down and just pick up your phone, because it's your little computer there, and just go through the list of people that are your contacts, and see if there's somebody there that's near and dear to your heart and you haven't reached out to them in a while. And just make a phone call or send them a text message. Just say, I'm thinking of you, loving you. Hope you have a great day. How hard is that? Well, that's being Christ. That's recognizing yourself in someone else. That's growing out of adolescence into adulthood of your Christ nature. What else can I do today? Well, I can stay in the house all day and love my animals, if I have some. Or get out of the house and go love whoever's out in the nature. The bunnies, the rabbits, the birds are beautiful this time of year. Oh my goodness, it's springtime. They're singing and happy about where we are. Notice that God is expressing in everything you experience today. If you can begin to see God in everything you see today, you will begin to know God in a new way. You will begin to know yourself in a completely new way, because you will see that you and God, which is everything you're experiencing, are one. That's how we become enlightened, is by recognizing that we have the potential and the power to do that on a consistent basis, on a sustained basis. So while we may not be fully enlightened yet, fully realized, it's these baby steps, that I'll use that term, that we can practice every day, that don't make us stand out in a way that make us feel uncomfortable about ourselves. We don't want to trigger the ego's suspicious nature or its fearful nature. Just go out and be loving, because when you're loving, you can't really be fearful anyway. So those are kind of my tips of the day there for your question, Jason. It's a good question, but we really want to make it complicated, and it's not. It's very simple. Be loving, right? Be present to what's happening. In other words, don't spend all your day letting your ego mess you around with what does tomorrow look like, or what you could have done different yesterday. Just be today, be present today to yourself and to what God is being around you, because everything around you is God expressing in form. I'll leave it at that.
I love that, and I especially love the vibration of nature. Right, the true harmony of just being out in nature is such a nice reset if you need a reset, especially if you are busy and work in front of a computer screen and stuff. Just being able to get out into the park or the woods and just be able to be close to nature is a beautiful reset. So thank you, Brother T, for that message. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's something that it seems like it should be so easy, but for me, the quietness sometimes creeps in. The thoughts, the egoic thoughts, start creeping in, and it starts creeping in. What's a tip that you have that, when you notice yourself being fearful or you notice yourself being judgmental, what's something that you can tell yourself or your ego self to kind of quiet that ego? Is there something that it's a little trick or tip that you use?
Oh, absolutely. And I have a few, I should say, but my favorite one is to just, I call it tapping the brake, right? It's just pause in the middle of, no matter what's going on, come to yourself. They call it coming to yourself. I came to myself and realized that I was being unhappy ridiculously because there was nothing to be unhappy about, as an example. So it's like I take a deep breath in any situation. I'm present now, and then I ask myself a very simple question. What am I grateful for? Because as soon as I shift my consciousness from what I'm afraid of to what I'm grateful, what am I grateful for? What I'm grateful for is all the love in my life. There's love everywhere, and I'm amazed at how many people not only tolerate me, but actually appreciate me, because I'm just out being loving. I'm not doing anything special. I'm certain not doing anything special, but I'm trying to be considerate and kind and helpful and loving, and I find more than ever in my entire life, that I am literally surrounded by people that actually appreciate me. And it's really
Absolutely.
nice. It's really,
Absolutely.
really nice. So when I think about what I'm grateful for, then love fills my heart, fear vanishes, and I suddenly can see my day in a new way. And if I'm going through some issue or some trouble, those are just false illusions, because God has already given us everything. So we really can't experience loss or lack, right? The only thing that we can do and get to do is to wake up to the truth that we've got way more to be grateful for than we have to be worried about. And when we're grateful, we're in love, in the consciousness of love, right? And when we're fearful, we're in the consciousness of lack, right? So abundance and lack are really the telltale signs of what is our energy, giving it, expressing. Are we expressing fear and lack and scarcity and problems? Something may not, but in this present moment, we're fine. We're just projecting some problem of the future. Well, no matter what the problem is, 100 years from now, it won't exist, right? So if I can be happy 100 years from now, I can be happy today too, right? So really, for me, the simple thing, Jason, is just to remember to ask yourself, what am I grateful for throughout your day? And remember to appreciate those things. And then in doing that, you're keeping yourself, in a high consciousness where your inner guidance can support you and congratulate you and love you and begin to express through you as you find ways to be more loving with those in your world.
I love that, Brother T. And yeah, when I think of what I have to be grateful for, and when you are appreciative of all the smallest things in life, the bird at the window, the smile from your daughter, I am so grateful. And I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for our viewers. that interact with us, that are a part of this community. So, Brother T, I'm so grateful for you for bringing us this message today and for sharing and just showing us the path in the easiness of what it is to be God's child. And thank you, Brother T.
Oh, it's my pleasure and it's my honor to be a part of this community, of True Thought community, and to do what we're doing is, it saved my life on many different levels, and I'm full of gratitude for everyone that's participating in helping us to get this good news out to the world, that we don't have to live in fear. And while many are promoting it nonstop, we can turn that off and tune in, dial in, and tune up to a higher way of being, which is as God's child. In perfect safety, we can release all tension. We really can. Because God is helping us through the love that's already here to discover ourselves.
I love that, Brother T. And if anyone out here can just like, share, subscribe, share it with one person, share True Thought with one person. And if you really want to make the step, how can they take another step if they really want to help support us here at True Thought, Brother T?
Well, we have two, if you just want to get one email a week, you can join us at truethought.us. If you want to read the content that Jason was talking about earlier, you can do that on our Substack page. I call it Substack. That's just the platform we produce on. But truethought.org will take you there, and also truemind.space. Well, the reason that both of those domains will take you to the same place is because we have some ideas about building a different website for True Thought. But in the meantime, we're just going to direct people there. You can just put in your email there. It doesn't cost anything. If you want to make a contribution, great. If you do want to make a contribution, go to support.truethought.org, and you can make a contribution there. But Substack, you can be a subscribed, somebody that subscribes to our channel, and that way you'll get email every day, and you don't have to make any contributions there. We are doing our best to survive in a way that there can be some endurance to what we're doing. Past my lifetime, that would be a blessing, that True Thought sticks around, and maybe there's some legacy for some of those who are listening to this message right now. It could become involved and become leaders and become teachers in True Thought. And so we have a bigger vision. Whether or not it'll be realized that's up to God, really, and up to people that are supporting us. So we're going to do what we can while we can with what we have. But in the meantime, just being here with us and watching us on our YouTube channel, TTSC, True Thought Spiritual Community.tv, will take you directly to our YouTube channel. So we've given you a lot of stuff here. It's a little basket of ways to connect with us, but you'll find your way. TrueThought.org will open the door for you there.
Well, thank you, Brother T. Again, I'm grateful from the bottom of my heart to all of our community and to you, Brother T. So with that, in the ease of today, I'm going to go out and enjoy nature and take my dog Bodie for a walk, and we're just going to be grateful and listen to the birds. So, Brother T, I will see you next week on another episode of The Second Coming.
It will be so. Indeed it will.